really accurately sometimes. Even, I mean, for me, a film can be great just because of 35 seconds in it sometimes. But this is that moment. And if you haven't seen it, it's a fantastic sequence about toxic masculinity.
But you know, it's interesting because film, for me anyway, it does gradations. Hitler, for example, is a really bad movie character. If you it's been done actually, by the way. I mean, there's a movie Downfall which has some wonderful things in it, but that's in a way almost a documenting of the complete decline of his, mental state. But there's a movie called Hitler with Richard Basehart, which is a horrible movie, and you realize that Hitler is kind of like over the top as a villain, and it's like a bad movie character. And good movie villains are like Michael Corleone, right? Yeah, he cares about the family. Well, what's his story? Like that kind of thing. There's an enigmatic, bad movie villains like Mussolini. You laugh at him now, right? Yeah, you see footage of Mussolini, he's hilarious. I'm sorry to say that, it's true.
Right, because a good depiction of a bad character is that you relate to it.
Right, there's a nuance.
And then you feel it in yourself, right?
You can't have nuance.
That makes it chilling.
Yeah.
No, it's just a quick comment about.
Ben Kingsley also plays Adolf Eichmann.
He does?
Yeah.
Adolf Eichmann?
Yeah.
Wow. So he's done the gamut, hasn't he? Gandhi, Eichmann, and this guy.
Yeah. This guy is staggering performance.
Anybody else?
Anybody else?
Oh, my son.
Villains-wise, like Humphrey Bogart and Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Yes, right. Well, he's not a villain, is he?
I mean, he technically is at the end of the movie.
At the end, he is, but he's not a pure villain.
And he's talking to himself.
Yes, but there's a level of nuance to that.
Well, I mean, so isn't it really, when it's not just villains that film can depict in more nuanced way than a stationary art form, but it's the complexity of emotion.
Yeah, because it's like a dream. The cinema is like a dream. It's interesting too because you can, I look at some of the Goya stuff we've talked about, and it's very difficult to come up with a kind of like a positive read, but it's like, but in movies, what I've noticed is that if you make a film and you end it unhappily, even the most sophisticated viewer will get very angry. It's like a dream that went wrong. I can read Anna Karenina, and I have, I'm proud to say, but I can read Anna Karenina, it ends horribly, and you're like, oh, well, that's too bad. Honey, did you put the thing in there? You know what I mean? But a movie that ends badly, it's like, it's cruel. Wait a minute. I remember seeing a movie, weirdly, it's a weird one, talk about the body, called Swept Away by a director named Lena Wertmuller.
I've never seen it.
It's a very interesting movie. It's a very provocative movie. Anyway, I'm not going to root it for you, but it ends in a way, I remember seeing the movie as a 16-year-old.
Right.
And it ends in a way where you're like, wait a minute. What the fuck are you doing? You're not supposed to end the movie like this. The movie can't end like this. I had a fantasy in my head. And you totally ruined it, Lena Wertmuller. Now, that's an artistically valid position she took, and by the way, I love that. I love that. Now, but at the time, it's like a violation. I was angry because it's like a dream. You have such a primary identification with that image on the screen. The painting allows you distance, the sculpture allows you distance. The book allows you distance. I can't quite explain it more than that. What are we looking at here?
Another question?
One other question or comment. I mean, you were talking about how villains and heroes are depicted in more stationary art forms. And I think it's all about the action. The benefit that film has, the resource of action for characters to be able to portray their moral components, is definitely an advantage that stationary art form doesn't have. Unless you have a depiction of a character that does this amount of activity.
I was thinking about that, and I put this image up because me and Mona just saw it in Venice. And if you're ever in Venice, this is a Carpaccio fresco in a very out-of-the-way, weird little church that I had no idea was in Venice. I'd been to Venice a whole bunch, and I always loved this image, and I realized it was there, and I put it up because, first of all, the timelessness thing, you walk into that room and you kind of go, whoa, like it's really like it was made yesterday, or it feels like it's waiting for you to look at. But also this idea of a stationary image that tells this at the exact same moment and statically this incredibly complex story about being alive, which is St. George and the Dragon, right? And why it was shocking and radical at the time is if you look at the way he depicted the corpses, they're like horrifying. I mean, they're really, really real and really brutal. And simultaneously, you have this horror of this beast, this creature that's just like tearing people and eating people, and it still feels, it's a moment that's happening that will never end, right? And it's reassuring because the order of the night, the idea of this sort of archetypal idea of us destroying our fears in a weird way, or this sort of dark subconscious, or this monster, it's super satisfying because it's like the bottom is all terror, and feel like abject terror. Above this beautiful town, up to the left, like this exquisite, apparently Carpaccio had visited Libya, or had heard about Libya, and they had this extraordinary architecture, and he sort of puts that in, this beautiful jewel of a magical town, and the boats coming in, all these like weird things kind of happening simultaneously, but the satisfaction and it kind of grips you is this order of he has slayed the dragon, quite literally, like he's right there doing it. It still could hurt someone, kind of, but maybe not. And it's very cinematic in a weird way, right? But it's also the key thing of art in that it just sits there vibing this message in this weird way. So you sit there looking at it and you can't get your head around what it's telling you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is Leon Golub a great artist?
I really like his work, but I don't know. I only know that I have that time thing.
Because the upper left-hand corner is very important to this.
Yeah?
And Golub doesn't have that. Or does he? He doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
He does?
Yeah, the act of painting.
Uh-huh.
The fact that he chose to paint it is the act of love, in my opinion.
I'll buy that.
If he photographed it, if he photographed those scenes, I'd have a very different reaction. But the compassion in Leon Golub is the idea that he's painting it and that he's applying that bodily commitment to those scenes is deep, is really unnerving, also deeply moving.
Well, you must be right, because, you know, there's that very famous footage of the South Vietnamese guy killing that NVA,
Right,
you know, from '68, I think it is.
right.
And that's not art.
No, the greatest depiction of violence I've ever seen, weirdly, and I don't know why, and if anyone has the same opinion of me, I could fill me in, is a painting of the black series of paintings by Goya, which if you've ever been to the Prado and you go down into that room, it's Goya's black paintings that he painted for his dining room, which is extraordinary when you're actually in that room of paintings. He didn't even paint them for people to paint. And it's two men fighting with clubs, like beating themselves in this weird landscape, just beating themselves. And that act of painting that, how he does, and it relates to Leon Golub actually. Every time I look at it, I think, Leon Golub kind of, I cry every time I see it. And you know, there's the 3rd of May outside, which is also like, Mona weeps at that one, which is this moment right before someone's being killed, quite literally. This mixing Goya of like compassion and love for humans, and a clear idea that there's such a thing as beauty. Like in the 3rd of May, the glowing lamp is so beautiful, right? And then the horror that we would do that to another human.
Right.
And the conditions that put us there is like, like way more painful than the shoot. That's awful. And I register it as like, it's a horrible thing.
Right.
But the something about that when art gets on a subject like that and is able to freeze it and almost like imbue it with the richness of actual experience, that's heartbreaking. It's devastating, in my opinion.
So we're getting the signal to wrap up. I want to thank you both for letting us listen in on this. Just next time, name's bring enough puttanesca for all of us.
Miss Bolognese is where it's at.
I think he overrated puttanesca.
Thank you again.
Thank you.